Welcome back to A Moment in History. I'm 𝙎𝙐𝘽𝙎𝘾. As we study the history of American presidents, let's be honest, some names just fly under the radar. So for me, I typically tend to pass over basically all of the names between Lincoln and Teddy Roosevelt, but this is really not a good practice to get into when we study history. There were a few presidents who did some very good things in the Gilded Age and helped bring the United States into prominence on the world stage and eventual world dominance during the 20th century. So one of these was the well-dressed Vermont-born politician who would serve as America's 21st president, Chester A. Arthur. Born in 1829 to an Irish-American pastor in New England, Arthur became a lawyer in New York City as a young man. Like so many of his immediate Republican forebears, he was a Northerner who fought on the Union side during the American Civil War. Now, Arthur came upon the opportunity for the presidency when he was chosen with a pretty big amount of controversy to be James Garfield's running mate in the 1880 election. Of course, history tells us that Garfield was shot in the summer of 1881 and died several weeks later, which meant Chester Arthur was now president. Now, Arthur accomplished some important milestones as president, one of which was the establishment of the first immigration bill in the U.S. government. Now, remember why this is so important because of the times. The United States of America was about to enter an immigration boom of the late 19th century where thousands, mostly from Europe, would enter the port cities of the eastern seaboard, such as Ellis Island, to become Americans. In fact, my own ancestors were actually part of this late 19th and early 20th century immigration boom, and I suspect many of yours probably were as well. So Arthur proved to be a competent ruler during his one term in office. From his early days in the Oval Office, Arthur was stricken with a sickness in his kidneys, though, and as such, he refrained from running for re-election in 1884, perhaps suspecting that his remaining days were limited. And sure enough, he passed away only a few years later in 1886. Thanks so much for joining me once again for A Moment in History. For more historical content, subscribe and click that bell to get notifications for when our next Moment in History comes out. Until next time, I'm 𝙎𝙐𝘽𝙎𝘾.